Unless you've been living under a rock your entire life, you've probably heard of Pokémon before, and maybe you've even played some of the games. But what you never hear about is the competitive part of Pokémon. Dating all the way back to the beginning in Generation 1, there's always been a small group of people playing the game competitively. The main format for competitive is known as VGC. In this format, the battles are in 2 versus 2, and both opponents are allowed to bring 4 Pokémon to the battle. That's the basics of it. Now, if you go on YouTube right now and search up competitive Pokémon, you're gonna get a lot of sweaty tryhards who've been playing the game since they were literally 2 months old, okay? But you know what you never see? You never see videos of VGC from amateurs such as myself. That's why today I'm gonna be changing that, okay? I am very unfamiliar with competitive Pokemon. I mean, I've watched a bunch of videos of people playing it, but I've never actually really tried it myself. So today, I'm just gonna grab a random team off the internet and throw myself in the deep end, and we're just gonna see what happens. Let's go. The team itself, it's pretty weird for a few reasons. First of all, if you don't understand all the items and moves on screens, don't worry about it. Neither do I. But if you do want to find out what everything does for some reason, I recommend checking out Cerebi.net. It's my personal favorite Pokemon database. This bad boy has information on basically everything you could ever want to know about Pokemon, and everything that you would never want to know about Pokemon. This thing's got it. You want to know what's in the Pokédex in any generation of Pokemon? Cerebi's got you. You want to know what TMs Dunsparce can learn in Generation 2 for some reason? Well, Cerebi's got you. You want to know how to overthrow the government? Wait, actually, I don't think Cerebi can do that. But you get the point. It can basically do everything else. Now, anyways, I'll try to explain what each member of the team does throughout the games as it becomes relevant. So let's just get right into Game 1. Game number 1 starts with my opponent sending out their Iron Hands and Palafin, 2 very powerful offensive Pokemon, while I send out my own Palafin and Arcanine. Now, you may have noticed that as soon as the battle started, my Arcanine activated its ability, Intimidate. Now, what this ability does is basically, it just reduces the attack of both opponents by 1, which the specific number for that, I don't exactly know exactly how many points of attack it reduces, but it reduces it significantly. So keep that in mind because both opposing Pokemon have very high attack stats, so this gives me an advantage right off the bat. Now, in turn number 1, I attempt to Will-O-Wisp the Iron Hands, which would cut its attack stat in half. Problem being, the opponent decides to switch out their Iron Hands into a Kingambit. And to make matters worse, Arcanine decides, you know what, I'm gonna miss the Will-O-Wisp, which by the way doesn't have 100% accuracy, because that would be too convenient if my attacks actually hit the opponent. Now luckily the opponent's Paladin doesn't do anything, it just protects, while I Jet Punch the Kingambit, which actually works in my favor because I get a little damage on the opponent on turn 1, so it definitely could be worse. So then I decide to switch out both my Pokemon into Fluttermane and Amoonguss, as they can more effectively deal with the opponent's Iron Hands and Kingambit versus the Pokemon I had in right now. And the opponent just decides not to attack me for some reason. I'm not going to question it, but I'm definitely not complaining because now my Pokemon has a huge advantage over them. Plus, I took no damage on the switch-in. At this point, I came up with a 1 million IQ idea. Amoonguss. Yeah, the funny mushroom guy. You know him. Well, he knows the move Rage Powder. This move forces the opponent to attack Amoonguss. That means they have to target him. This sounds bad at first because you're probably saying, why would you want Amoonguss to get targeted? Well, you see, it's actually good in this one scenario because it allows Fluttermane to not be targeted, allowing it to survive and get off a Dazzling Gleam, a super effective hit that can hit both opposing Pokemon, which can bring them down to critical health. And it worked just as well as I expected.
Oh, that's a lot of damage!
Bringing both Pokemon to basically almost 0 health. And from there, I was easily able to just destroy them because I mean, like, bro, their Pokemon are all on life support. This is an easy win right here. Next up is game number 2. My opponent's team is quite different this time. The opponent has a Dragonite and a Fluttermane, which are both scary since they can do a lot of damage very quickly if you don't take care of them. I decided to lead with Palafin and Fluttermane, which in retrospect, I probably wouldn't lead with Palafin, but I think the Fluttermane was a good choice. Now, I wanted to do this to provide some offensive pressure early against my opponent, but my opponent had the same idea because they also led Fluttermane and their Dragonite, which puts me in a rough spot because it's possible that their Fluttermane was faster than mine. Luckily, I was able to switch out my Arcanine safely, which counters the Amoonguss, which they also switched in at the same time. I then make a blunder that could potentially cost me the entire game. Wasted my Terrestrialization on Fluttermane the next turn. Alright, we need to pause the game real quickly, because I want to explain Terrestrialization to people who might not know what it is. Now, if you've never played Pokemon Scarlet/Violet before, they added a new gimmick in these games that changes competitive Pokemon drastically. Now, what is terrestrialization? To keep it simple, basically it gives you once per battle the ability to change one Pokemon's type at any point in the battle. Now, this might not sound like a big deal, but when you realize that changing a type means you change anybody's type, you can be a rock dark type like Tyranitar and change your type to fire, which completely can change the tide of the game in competitive Pokemon. So this is a huge feature in the game, and using it incorrectly can cost you the entire game, which I will show you right now. So I used Terrestrialization to turn my Fluttermane into a Fairy type, in hope of getting some more extra damage out of Dazzling Gleam. However, what I didn't consider was the fact that my opponent could turn their Amoonguss into a Water type, essentially making my Arcanine's Flare Blitz do 0 damage. And if that's not bad enough, the Amoonguss decided to use Spore directly into my Fluttermane, which I just terrestrialized, making it basically unusable for the rest of the game, giving me no terrestrialization that I can use later. I'm having fun. From that point on, things went downhill quickly. They switched in their Dragonite, and without Fluttermane awake, I had no way to damage it. I quickly got overwhelmed by its powerful physical attacks, and even after I burned Dragonite, I simply didn't have enough damage output to take it out. This game taught me that it's absolutely vital to keep my Fluttermane alive, as it's my only way to deal with Dragon-type Pokemon. Kind of like how it's extremely vital for you to subscribe to my channel. Okay, I'm sorry, I took that one too far. But seriously, subscribing does help me out a lot, and it boosts the channel significantly. Also, if you don't subscribe, bad things might happen to you. Anyways, let's get into Game 3. Now, this one was quite strange, to say the least. I mean, just look at this dude's team. He's got Ice Satan, Fire Goldfish, Steel Bug, Big Dragon Man, Heartfish, and Fluttermane. To be honest, I wasn't quite sure what to bring to this battle. I mean, I eventually decided to lead with the classic Palafin Arcanine core to deal with the opposing Pokemon Scizor, and I just threw Tinglu and Amoonguss in the back for good measure. At the start of the game, the opponent actually leads with Fluttermane and Weavile, a lead I did not prepare for, because I was expecting them to send out Scizor, but apparently I expected wrong. This immediately puts me in a rough spot because that stupid Weavile could have Fake Out. Now, of course, I didn't know this at the time, so I had the wise idea of terrestrializing Palafin into Water type on turn 1. See, this would be fine and dandy if I didn't immediately get faked out by the stupid Weavile, preventing me from moving my Palafin. I then proceeded to lose the Palafin to an Energy Ball from Fluttermane. Like, who puts Energy Ball in a Fluttermane? What kind of psychopath would do that? I then decided to send an Arcanine as a feeble attempt to take out this annoying freaking Weavile, but I'm unable to because guess what? The Weavile had a Focus Slash, meaning you can't kill it in one hit. This then leads to my poor Amoonguss to be murdered by a double attack from both Fluttermane and Weavile, as they were able to kill him before he had time to get an attack off. Now, luckily, Arcanine was able to take this opportunity to murder the Fluttermane that has caused me so much grief already, but the damage has been done. The opponent then decides to send out the Firefish, which has no possible way of damaging my Pokemon as they are both Fire type and Ground type respectively. Oh wait, it's Water type now. And it used Terra Blast to annihilate Arcanine with a Water type attack, making it easy for the Scizor to sweep my poor Tinglu. This opponent really put me in my place. I have a long way to go before I'm making it to the top, but believe me, we'll get there eventually. There'll be a day when my enemies quake in fear when they hear my name, cowering behind their Pokemon as I destroy each and every single one of them. But yeah, I should probably learn the type matchup chart first. Hey there, just interrupting this outro for a second to let you guys know that I do have some future projects in the works. I apologize for the long waits between videos, but unfortunately I have been quite busy with school, so I haven't had much time to make videos. But if you ever want to see any of that stuff early, you can come over to my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/storythesum_. Watch me be an idiot live, if that's what you like doing. Alright, I'll stop selling out now. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!